School 202.
Better hear what I've got to say because you won't get it again.
I'm not an alpha male. I'm not a beta male either. I'm just a better man. Better man. Well, put your happiness first, because if you don't, they won't. Yo, GYBB, get your balls back. WWDD, what would Dante do? The Sexual Revolution is being podcasted, and I am excited. Good to be here. Feeling good, feeling right. Makes you feel good. Big Money Mike was in the back playing some discotheque music. Dancing for the girls, making hard sex for them. And making love to hard women or till breakfast. Right, Mike?
The vibes was late 90s New York City.
You was making sex with women very hard, so it was cool. I'm back, ready to go. Put that number up, Mike. I'm ready to rock and roll. Had a great weekend. I know y'all was on the live with me on Sunday. Don't keep in mind the lives are Sunday and Tuesday 8:30, Sunday at 7. Keep in mind, next week's live will be, I'm going to have to do it early. So I think I'm going to do it like 5:30 on Sunday because I got spots and I had to adjust. So I'm going to have to do 5:30 on Sunday. So keep that in mind. Put that in your book. Live on Sunday is going to be at 5:30. We're going to start a little bit earlier, question and answer. You know how we do live consultations in the building. I was been thinking a lot about this all week, and I was thinking to myself that how important logic is. Me and Mike was kicking this behind the scene is how people don't have a mechanism to know what they're doing, if the decisions that they're making is correct. And I don't feel like people understand logic, basic how because I think when you have an understanding of logic, I think that you can make better decisions. But I think moreover than not, people make decisions based on feelings, nothing more than feelings. And I do understand the importance and the difficulty to make decisions and to remove the emotion out of the decisions. I've said this 1,000 times before. There's just no way that you make great decisions when you allow emotions to have a seat at the table. Because the minute you introduce emotions, your ability to access your brain matter in a way that makes you make the most proficient decisions is much more difficult because of the fact that emotion is in play. Now, do I understand that it is very difficult to do? But I also don't feel like there's I don't feel like we have limitations. At least I don't think that we've ever exhausted all the limitations that we can have to achieve the best of what we want to be. I don't think that anybody has taken it to the max of where we go. We have gone beyond. Anytime somebody will tell you that you have limitations, those limitations are usually interrupted by somebody surpassing the limitations that people believe in. So I'm in a positive mood. Don't forget the live consultation. The phone number's up. The phone is ready. They're wide open. 347-464-2827. Call me. Ask me anything. Check in. My energy is great today. So, oh yeah, I did have a Red Bull. Maybe it's not that I feel good, Mike. It's synthetic, Mike. And I don't do a Red Bull. Mike, you fuck with Red Bull at all?
No, I used to, like back in my drinking days. Like I would mix with stuff to keep me
like
ball.
Vodka, yeah, that's
but
a
even
bad.
like regularly, just to, like as an energy thing. And then I completely stopped. Now I'm a coffee guy.
Yeah,
every single day coffee. Vanilla
vodka and used to be my jam. Vanilla vodka and Red Bull used to, but I'll drive too much to be drinking and driving and get a $10,000 bid on because I had a beer. I'm good.
I get it decades ago, but now you got a lawyer anyway.
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
Much less than a lawyer.
I'm trying. It's like $10,000 is probably cheap now. It probably costs you 20. It's like 20. 347-464-2827. I was talking about emotion and how emotion should never have a seat at the table. I am working on this book. Keep in mind, y'all, the book and the merchandise is almost ready. The store is almost up, and we're gonna have sweatshirts and hats and T-shirts to start, and then we're gonna do some new edition stuff, so you guys will be able to. I'm also working on a basic online course, so that if you can't afford the consultations with me directly, you can get the course and get some guidelines, and then maybe just check in with me like every month and stuff. But I mean, I had some great consultations. I mean, shout out to everybody who's on the Patreon, www.patreon.com/manschool202. Thank you for the brothers who came out. We got a call already. Thanks for the brothers who came out to see me in the UK. We got a call. Who we talk? Hi, Mike.
Call, you're on the air.
Hello, am I on?
Yeah, what's going on, bro? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Uncle Dante? My name is Terrell Campbell.
What's up, Terrell?
Also known as Young Bass Prince. I'm a big follower of yours. I'm on all your platforms.
I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, I saw you on the live yesterday. Just keep in mind the live tomorrow. I mean, on the live on Sunday is gonna be a little earlier because I gotta work that night. So we're gonna start like 5:30. But how can I help you, bro?
Okay, I have a question. Is there any point in time to where, let's say, if you with a person for X amount of years, could be 2 years or so, is there any point in time if y'all break up that there can ever be any kind of rekindleship, even if y'all get back on good terms and take things slow?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so I think when you ask a question like that, I think it's a question that you can't ask directly. You can't answer it directly because all of those things, the variables involved in that are so different. People change, people grow apart, people grow back, people make decisions when they're younger. There are things that there's things that I did when I was younger that if you ask me right now, would I have done it differently? I absolutely think so. So it's not even 2 years. Like to be honest, man, a lot of old chicks that I smashed in my 20s, now that they're divorced and their daughters are like, they'll call me up like, hey, I'm just seeing how you were doing. My daughter graduated from college. I'm just so excited. And I'm like, yo, can I get some butt? So, because that's what the call is about. Like somebody's reaching back because their life hasn't worked out the way they thought, and because you ultimately have a place in their life that, that you have a place in their life where they have, or at least how they remember you is important. So, absolutely, you could. It doesn't. I would even go one further and say it doesn't necessarily have to be. It doesn't even have to be taking your time. I mean, I think you should always think about the decisions that you're making. But if you're making logical decisions, and if somebody swings back that were before, you do know who they are. I think a lot of times when we let, I was just talking about this, when we let emotions have a seat at the table, we don't make a real honest perception of what's going on. So I think prospectively, as you mature, you can look at these situations and you can make better decisions, especially if you've been listening to my content. Because if you're listening to me, you are in a different place than you were when you before you was listening to me. And I would bet money on that.
Of course.
Nobody that's listening to me that that F's with my content has not changed their perspective. And if it is, they're just not listening. You know what I mean? Because we don't have, and nobody out there is giving, nobody on these interwebs is giving this information or giving this. So if that makes sense, does that answer your question? I think you can decide how and the way that you want your life to be and who wants it. And all of those decisions are fine as long as you're making those decisions from a perspective, from an educated perspective with an idea about what your objective is and the person understands what that objective is. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I appreciate that.
Any confusion about that I can help you with?
There's not really no confusion. I guess that what you say, it depends on the person too and how you look at things from outside.
I mean, what was the work? What was the circumstances? How y'all broke up in the first place?
Well, at the time, it was, me being immature and you could say shoplifting the pussy at the time.
Right.
And it got to a point where, yeah, we broke up, but we always maintained a level of communication.
Right.
And I would say the love was still there.
Okay. All right. I mean, and how long ago was this? About 2 years ago?
No, we broke up last year, August.
Oh, I
So
mean,
we were together for 2 years.
so was it just stuff that where you wasn't being righteous, and or did she end it or did you end it?
It was kind of, it's funny. I would say it was a mutual ending because, I was moving distant and she was moving distant, and then things kind of broke off.
Okay. I mean, I just think what I would just say to you is to be honest. I mean, I'm gonna say that anyway. Practice ACE. Be honest with what the perspective is. Be honest about what you're looking for. Be honest to her. Be honest with her about what you're looking for and how you want to move forward, and ask her for the same. And the minute that you start to see discrepancies between the action and the words that come out of people's mouth, you always follow the actions first.
Right.
And even the fact that here's the thing, the maturity in the fact that you are even willing to admit that you were doing F-boy shit, is growth on your part. You feel me?
Yeah, like you said, it's always our fault.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't have somebody that is just unruly, but I mean, even that, people can't take advantage of you if you don't let them and you're not available to them, So there's that, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all your support, for real, man. You one of those dudes that's on all the platforms and everything and helping us support this thing, man. We need more dudes like you. Spread the word, man. Holla at your boy, all right?
I appreciate you, Unc.
All right, peace. Mike, can we get the AC up high? It's a little warm in this motherfucker. The phone's up, 347-464-2827. Crazy thing happened to me yesterday. So I've been working on my system in my truck, and shout out to my man Julius. Julius is killing it. Just amazing stereo system. He got my music crisp and clear. I was rocking Stats 1 on the way in today, and but I've been riding around in Ubers because he had my car, and I'm in the Uber with a dude from Pakistan, right? And we talking, and I'm telling him that I have a podcast, and I'm, relationship guru and blah 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 blah. So I could see him peeking in the mirror like, my friend, what do you think about? And he basically says to me that his wife, from what I could discern from the conversation, that his wife doesn't get along with his brother's wife, right? So the two in-laws, wife, the sister-in-laws, they don't get along. And the brother, he's the younger brother, and when his brother comes into town, they are supposed to hook up with the family because of tradition, because of culture. He goes, my wife doesn't like going around this woman, and I tell her she has to come because Pakistan, the culture. Yeah, I get this with Muslims, I get this with immigrants, I get this with Africans, I get this with Indians, I get this with Palestinians, Pakistanis, all these people that have this strong family base, and I'm all about that, unless of course the family base is toxic. And so apparently, I'm riding in the back of the car and I'm asking questions, and I'm like, well, why doesn't your wife like this woman? And basically, in the gist of it is that his wife is prettier than his brother's wife. She's jealous of her, so she's giving her the business, right? There was a thing about a bracelet, and they didn't get the chance, couldn't show up for the wedding, and she put the picture of the wedding on all kinds of, goofy stuff, right? And so the guy, the Uber driver, he says to me, my brother, he was there for me my whole life, and he wants me there and such, and I go, well, the fact that your brother treated you like like a human being, like treated you like a brother. Here's the question, and this is why logic is important. Does that give him the right for you to put your wife in the context of her being disrespected? Because you have a family bond, because in your culture, is this something that should make you overlook the fact that his wife is mean to your wife? And the answer for me is no. First of all, if you got a woman, you got a wife, what is she looking to you for? She's looking for you to make her safe, for you to protect her. And if you're not protecting her, I don't care about your culture, because if you realize even when they say culture, when this guy was talking about culture, I was like, is there a culture? Is part of your culture allowing people to be abusive and to be mean and disrespectful? Nobody's culture would admit to that. Nobody would say that, oh, is it okay for your parents to be abusive and mean, and simply because they are your parents, you're supposed to take it? I assume that people do. I assume that people don't stand up for themselves a lot of times in family situations because of the status of the family. But the reality is that as an adult, you should always respect yourself. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your sister. I don't care if it's your God. Any God that would be disrespectful to you and mean and disrespectful to you is not one that I'm willing to follow. That's me. I get it. Y'all are caught up in this culture and this, but here's the thing. What would happen was this guy, his sister-in-law would be mean to his wife, right? He would feel an obligation to force her to be in their company. Then when they go home, right, now he's fighting with his wife for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, month, because his brothers is too much of a punk to tell his wife to just shut up, stop being a jerk, stop being an asshole. And so because of your so-called culture, because of your I don't know what is, I guess, the standards in which you think that you should treat your offsprings, you are going to allow some other woman to be disrespectful to your wife, not protect her from the abrasive attitude of somebody who's just uncouth, which is based on jealousy, so on and so forth. And then on top of that, you're gonna take that with you home and then expect your wife to look at you with the respect of somebody who's supposed to keep her safe. And so now, because you've allowed the weakness of your brother, because he's not man enough to just say that this is inappropriate behavior and it's unacceptable and I won't allow that. Now you got to put up with it, and then you leave. They go back to wherever they're coming from, and then they leave you and your wife arguing and fighting, which makes your wife stressed, and it creates friction in your life. It also creates stress with her, because now y'all are fighting, and now your kids have to watch you argue and fight and disagree about something that could be simply eliminated by the fact that you avoid people who are disrespectful and take advantage of the fact that we are in-laws or just family members. And you're willing to put your wife at risk simply to appease your brother, because your brother's too much of a punk to say that his wife has inappropriate behavior. Does that make sense, Mike? Am I clear? I feel like I'm a little all over the place.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't come from a culture like that where it's like family first is nothing. You just have to respect your elders. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But if I felt my girlfriend was being disrespected in a family setting, I'd remove the both of us so I couldn't say anything.
Right.
And I wouldn't just be like, it is what it is. You have to see the family. I'd be like, no, I agree with you. And either they need to change and do something, or we need to remove ourselves. Right.
And if that's the level of that they want to operate as a family, then you remove yourself from that situation and you protect your woman. How does your woman look up to you, and how do I put it, to just hold you in high regard when you can't even keep her safe from the people that you are aware And this is the thing. While I was talking to him, he was like, well, it's the thing is that my wife is prettier than his wife, and because she's just jealous and she's nasty. And so you have somebody who's uncouth and abusive, who is has no problem taking nonsense out on somebody else, and you're gonna let that happen. I mean, that's literally the equivalent of some dude grabbing your lady's onion, and you just go, oh, my bad, yo, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to understand that the thing that makes a woman attractive to you is, yes, your honesty, but it's the fact that you create a safe environment for her. And if you're not willing to do that, how is she going to respect you? And this is also a situation where assholes will be assholes anyway. And what I find often a lot of times, people will act like jerks, and then everybody goes, oh, you know how your sister is. You know how your aunt is. We make excuses for bad behavior. So they get to continue to be jerks, make everybody else miserable, right? And they never stop. So when somebody is making people miserable, they gonna make me miserable, I make everybody miserable. I am notorious for blowing up the spot at family reunions and stuff like that. You're not going to do that. So, but what you find is that overall, what people will do when you're not willing to put up with the abuse, they just take it somewhere else. They'll just go to somebody else who will put up with it. One of the things that I say all the time, my honesty sharpens your truth. If I'm honest and you start telling me lies, and I right there I'm like, wait, that's not what happened. What happens is people either they leave you alone because they're like, this is a dude that doesn't give me wiggle room in the context of truth. So I'm not gonna try him because liars want to hang out with liars because they keep everything in the gray area. So this way I don't expose you and you don't expose me. And so we both live this lie, this sort of dinner theater. We never become better, and we never really take responsibility for who we are. 347-464-2827. Phone lines is open. I feel like I think that this is something that has come across to me as I've gotten older. What I feel like is, I've said this, I have seen more sunsets than I'm going to see, right? 58 years old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. I mean, if I'm lucky, my dad lived till he was 92. Let's say if I get 92, right? First, and let's be honest, it ain't going to be 92, what is that, Mike? It was 92, 60s, 34 years, something like that. 34 more years or something like that. I would do like 34 more years. And chances are the last 10 of those ain't gonna be great. You know what I mean? That's just what happens when you become older. You lose your mobility, you get sick, your joints wear out. So let's say I got 25. I refuse to live my life in a way where I'm going to allow, allow for people to be disrespectful and to waste my time. Mike, we got a call? Go ahead.
Caller, you're on the air.
What's up?
Yes,
What's your name? Where you calling from, man?
I'm Angel calling from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
How you doing, Angela?
I'm okay, thanks.
How can I help you?
I just wanted to say to your, conversation you're having, like, that's crazy. Like, culture is, like, respect, love, it's values, and, like, disrespect, like, when it comes to even when you're married.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy, that person would allow someone to disrespect their wife, the sibling's wife. But I just wanted to say that I love Godfrey. Like, I met him, personally. I love y'all's show. Like, I love what y'all, are doing. So he probably doesn't remember me, but I try to catch him live sometimes. But anyway, I like what y'all talk about. So I had to call and just send my love, and I appreciate what y'all do. And peace.
Now, Angie, let me ask you a question real quick. Are you married?
It's complicated.
Okay. Do you have a man?
I do.
Okay. So, from a woman's perspective, am I incorrect in saying that a woman looks for her man to make her feel safe. And if you fail on that your attraction starts to wane from a guy who can't keep you safe?
I do agree with you on that, and that's why I said complicated, because my son's father, who is complicated, that I'm married to still, he did not um, have that boundary with me where he would take protection for me
Right.
when his family, got out of line with me for disrespecting me or anything. His sister never did, but he just never had my back supporting me that way, and that kind of was, like, wow, we was best friends before we got married, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it just changed. People change when they get married.
Yeah.
I heard that, but I'm still the same person. I didn't change. But that was one of the main things with me that I
That
really looked down on.
you didn't feel safe when they
No,
found their family was
no, I
rat. Yeah.
no, I didn't, because I now the security's gone, the stability is gone, and yeah, the home is broken. You've allowed that negative entity to get into our home that is not safe. So I totally agree with what you said and how you feel on that.
Now here's another question, since we have a woman's perspective on it, and I'm how well, there's two things I want to ask you. Number one was the when you say that he changed, I would push back on that and say he didn't change. I would push back on that. There were probably, if you think back, that there were probably red flags that you overlooked because you was in love.
That's right. That's right. Love is blind.
Right.
And I will admit that. That's true. I agree.
And so what happens is, this is why I say, and I say this to guys all the time. There's a lot of guys that call into my show just because it's just, I don't know, I guess and women don't think but I love talking to women and having the debate about this, because it helps me to grow as a person. What I think is really interesting is that women will overlook things when they're in love. And this is why I say never let emotion have a seat at the table. I understand that that's difficult. Make no bones about it. But when you have to step back and look and really assess a man, a relationship, the perspective that you want, the things that you want to ultimately achieve. And when you don't do that, you overlook these things, and then when the shine comes off it, right, and you see who somebody really is, and then it becomes something that's, like I always say, relationships are really easy. You figure out what your non-negotiables are and never negotiate them.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, he was my first love. I was very young.
Right.
He was the first guy I had ever been with intimately.
Right.
At the time,
right.
And it was kind of just me when I saw that, because he stopped talking to me and started being dominating,
right.
And he had never showed me those qualities until after we got married. So that's what I was saying. It was surprising. I do agree with you when you say love is blind, but at the same time, I felt like I knew him and I saw changes.
How old were you? How old were you when this happened?
I was young. I was 18.
Okay.
He's 5 years older.
All right. So let's be honest. If somebody tells you, if you got a daughter, then she was 18 years old, and she said, I knew him, I knew who he was, and he changed, what would you say? I don't want to ask you what your age is now, but I'm assuming you're a grown woman now, and you
really don't know,
right?
And that's what I tell my daughter. You don't know what you think you know. You don't. I mean, we learn living. In order to live your life, you're growing.
Right.
You're going through experiences. That's what life is all about. I tell my sons that all the time, and then with that experience brings knowledge, and knowledge brings wisdom. So
right.
I get, without the changes that we go through, and just like you said, I was with him through bad times.
Yeah.
We have good,
right.
But at the same, it just didn't work out. I could not have the parents being involved in my marriage. I'm just not going to lie, because we have our house, they have their house.
Yeah.
And it's just certain guidelines, but that's what really,
that's
really
what made it fall apart.
How
now? Here's the other question: How long?
He sees it now, and he apologized.
Okay. Now here's my question: How long after that happened did the attraction start to fall off?
Oh, I would say I waited because I wanted to at least
explain
wait to see if he was going to attempt to try to make some changes.
Yeah.
I didn't see nothing being effective. So I would say that 7 year mark, that's when I left.
Okay.
Yeah, I left.
All right, what I try, I guess what I'm saying is the minute that happens is when you start to question, you start to question if you a woman. What this is safety is so important to a woman, and the safety comes in the form of what truth and credibility, and empathy
That's right.
is ace.
That's
It's
right.
authenticity,
And
credibility, and empathy.
he wasn't being that way with me.
Right.
And that's another thing. Yeah.
And then once that's questioned, then the attraction starts to fall off. So it's again, this is what I'm just proving my point that I've said that I counsel dudes all the time, and I'm like, you have to tell the truth. You have to show up when you say you're going to show up, and you have to understand that the women are looking for comfort and safety in their relationships. And go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean. I'm sorry to interject, but
No.
he even knew about my father, not being around. Me and my father are very close. Don't get me wrong, but my father was, very an opportunist.
Right.
So he was not around me all the time.
Right.
But he did share some things with me that gave me an impact on my life to let me know how I should treat it being a woman.
Okay.
So, with that being said, for him to know that I did not have a father figure, my grandmother, which is my dad's mother that raised me, that really bothered me, because I shared like sensitive things with him.
Right.
And I felt like he was listening, being my friend. So when all that, I do agree with you on that. Like it changes things. It makes me look at him differently. Like you didn't protect me.
Yeah.
And now, like, he apologized. He admitted it. We're older now, and I'm just like, hey, I've been living my best single life.
Right.
I freedom. I found what angel love.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really know yourself before you get involved with people.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying. When I'm young, I didn't know who I was.
Right.
I just love the fact that I'm married.
Yeah.
I got a family I'm about to have.
Right.
That it was so important for me to have that. So yes, sir, I do agree that with growth comes knowledge. So
yeah.
I've
Angie,
been growing,
thank you
but I love who I am.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling, and thank you so much. Okay, call back.
No,
okay.
Thank you. Okay, have a blessed one.
All right. Bye. This is what's also here's I think what even in retrospect, just listening to her speak. I mean, this is something that I say all the time. You can have the 6-pack. You can have the cars. You can have the money. You secure the bag. I need a man, a high value man. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, dude. Puffy was a high value man. High value several times, and he was knocking that upside the head. You know what I'm saying? Running around naked with a towel, holding on and kicking people in the stomach. So it's like this understanding of what we perceive is valuable. When all is said and done, the only value that we can honestly hold to is truth, credibility, and empathy. If you have those things, it feeds into the other things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you want somebody to, no woman wants a man who can't provide, and because provision is part of safety. Real quick, let me give this number 347-464-2827. Call in, talk to me about anything. I'm here for y'all. What I think is interesting is, and I use and Puffy is a crazy example of a guy who has all of those things. Every time you're on Instagram, you're online, and you hear women, I need a man with this, I need a, and it's like you're being goofy, because you can have a guy like that if underneath that he's insecure, right? He's gonna be manipulative. He's gonna be abusive, emotionally, physically, and otherwise. We got another call. Let's go.
Call, you're on the air.
Hey.
What's going on? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ron from LA.
What's going on, baby? How can I help you?
Just a general question. So how would you or a person navigate through life, a married man, and remain faithful?
How do you navigate life and remain faithful?
Right. It's almost like a dichotomy of man. You want to be faithful, but you also want other women.
Okay.
So how do you stay in that monogamous relationship as a faithful man?
Okay, I think there's a few things that we're talking about. I think that there are some people who are just not monogamous. I think that there is a social construct that says that we're supposed to be monogamous, and I don't think that I don't think that everybody's happy with that. And I think that and this is where, where I don't make judgments about the choices that people make. What I do make judgments about is the honesty in how we convey that, right? So I don't think it's difficult to be monogamous if that's what you want to do. But I also don't think you have to be monogamous. I think you just got to be with somebody who understands that you're not being monogamous. The problem is when I talk about shoplifting the pussy is that you're signing up for something that you can't afford. Now, the integrity, the discipline, the fortitude it takes to be monogamous when other things are around you that will tempt you. The question is, do you have the ability to weather that storm? If you don't, I think you have to, that's something you got to figure out. But this is about being honest with yourself. If you are in a situation where you know that you're not monogamous, you don't even know if you're monogamous, then why would you promise that to somebody if you already know that that's not the case? I totally don't get me wrong. I want you to understand the two things that you will always have to do is give forgiveness and ask for forgiveness. So we all make mistakes. The question is not the mistakes that we make. The question are the mistakes that we made representative of a person's constitution, who they are at their core? It's okay to say to somebody, I'm not a monogamous person. I don't know if I don't know. This is how I feel now, but I felt like this. And to be honest with that will give a woman more comfort than anything else. Because what happens is guys will tell a woman anything she wants to hear to use her as a dick cozy. They're just trying to smash. When what you don't understand is your honesty is the thing that makes you the prerequisite for somebody who's a viable entity to have sex or to as a viable relationship choice, or just even whatever that relationship is. Nobody says I'm a liar. I love you so much and I want to be faithful for you, but I just want to know that I'm also a liar. So do you understand how being honest about yourself, who you are as a person, is important in that? Because I just had a call with a woman who says, this guy presented himself in one way and then he was another way. Presented himself as somebody who would keep her safe and then didn't keep her safe.
So do you also truly believe that it's possible?
Sure I do. I think that, people, we're not, people are vegetarians, right? Doesn't mean we don't have the ability to process meat. It's a choice. People are pescatarians. We make choices about this all the time. There are people who are celibate. There are people, I think the will of what we are, and I also think that you can change. The only problem is that we have to be honest about the change. Do you understand, like, if you're talking to a woman and you've never been monogamous and y'all are hot and heavy and y'all digging it, and she was like, I really want to be in a relationship, and you go, I really care about you too, and I don't really have a desire to be with anybody else, but I've never been monogamous, and I don't know if I can hold my end up on that. But I really want to try, and I promise you this. What's the parameters there? I promise you this. If I feel outside of that realm, you'll be the first to know. Do you understand how powerful that is to say that to somebody?
Yeah, no. But wouldn't you say the opposite is true too, where you can come into a relationship and say, hey, I'm going to be monogamous?
Yeah, if you mean it. If you mean it.
But then it could change down the line too, right?
Yeah, but what you're saying is that you're just honest about it changing, and you give the person the option to understand that. The problem is not that you want something different. The problem is that you're dishonest about it. That's how people feel betrayed. You see, they can't hold, you see, because another thing is if you all of a sudden decide that somebody's not enough, right? You think about what that feels like for the woman, right? Or, you know what, I won't even do that. I'll say, let's say the shoe is on the other foot and it's the woman, and all of a sudden she decides she doesn't want to be monogamous anymore. And she says to you, listen, I love you a lot. I said, but this is just really not doing it for me, right? Now, on that, you a lot of times what we do is we internalize this, right? Well, I'm not good enough, right? If I was only good enough, and we start to feel that. Oh, but here's what men do a lot of time is they're like, yo, F that bitch. You know what I mean? Like we do that because it's our way of dealing with the fact that we feel insecure, right?
Right, coping
But
with the
you're
situation.
coping with this because but you got to understand, this is why it's important to understand what your value is. Because if you understand what your value is and somebody says, listen, I don't know, this is not necessarily what I want. Let me give you a different scenario. You're dating a woman, all of a sudden she says, hey, I just realized that I'm really into women. I don't really, I love you, but I'm really into women. What do you do with that? You're not going to castrate yourself. You're not going to cut your dick off, right? She clearly wants something different, right? So you have to eat that, right? Because it's something different, right? You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So because we have an understanding about gender preferences and stuff, we can accept that. But because we're going, I'm a man, she wants other men, it makes it personal. I'm not saying it can't be personal. It could be that she just don't like you, but it could also be that that's not who she is, and that she's discovered something about herself that has nothing to do with you. The same thing is true when I talk about laying the 5 bricks, and you lay a 5 bricks, and the fear is that, you know, a lot of times what that does is that removes the anxiety. So when it removes the anxiety, but what we don't understand is what's the anxiety come from? The anxiety comes from the fact that you think she's going to reject you, right?
Right, the rejection.
And because you're insecure, you think that rejection is personal, right? Now, could that woman's dog have died earlier that day and she just don't want to talk? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely.
Could she have found out that her grandmother passed away an hour before you paid that compliment? Is that possible?
Possible.
So here's my thing. What are the endless things that could have happened that have absolutely nothing to do with you? But yet, because of our insecurity, we make it about ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not attractive enough. And don't get me wrong, all of those things are possible. But I mean, if we just talk about having a pet died, right? What's the endless amount of pets that could have died that could have created that same situation? You get my point?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. But I think you're right in terms of internalizing it, because that's exactly what you do, you know?
Right.
You internalize it and you take it as something personal, whereas maybe it's not.
Doug, I've had, not now because I'm old and done, but I'm saying when I was young, I was a pretty boy. I've had girls say to me, oh, I would never talk to you. You never a guy that I would talk to. You're a pretty boy. You'll be a problem. So the thing that you would think that would make a difference doesn't make a difference. You know, it makes a difference in the negative. So do you understand how it's like we're all these puzzle pieces that we're trying to fit together, and we're also making compromises about what we like and what we don't like. So what I'm saying is the monogamy is just one of those variables. It could be height. It could be money. It could be, are you funny? It could be, are you smart? It could be, are you empathetic? Are you masculine? Are you rough around the edges? Are you aggressive? Are you whatever? It's endless. Just like it could be, I'm not monogamous. Like she could say, I'm not monogamous, or that I've changed, or now I'm into women. I didn't realize it's endless. What I'm saying is what we have to do is we have to be the best version of ourselves. And if we are the best version of yourself, whatever you perceive that as and you're presenting that, then you also put yourself at the mercy of, I shouldn't say at the mercy, but you say, this is what I got to offer. And the woman goes, this is yay or nay. But what you also should be doing is looking at this woman and say, what does she have to offer? When I was stripping, I can't. This is why I had no problem when I don't know if y'all know back in the days a couple months ago when Corey was calling me gay, right? Corey Holcomb was on his saying I was gay. You know how many times I had chicks say I was gay because I didn't want to sleep with them?
Right, that's their first response.
Right, that's the response. It's shaming and being disrespectful. But hey, I don't wanna F you because you are hideous. How about that? Or you're not my type, or I don't like you, or maybe you're not like how I can't have these standards. And so because I can't have these standards, what is she doing? She does the same thing that men do, which is because of the insecurity, because of the rejection, you put it on me because you don't want to take responsibility. Now, if you take the responsibility for that, I'm not your cup of tea, you also have to prospectively ask yourself is, what is the truth about what she's saying? And then you got to look at yourself, and if it is true, you got to decide whether you want to change that.
Right.
So it goes right back to the truth again, if that makes sense. I just did a live. I think it was Sunday. Dude called up, met up with a girl on Hinge, got laid, right? No, it was here. It was last Tuesday, right, Mike? The dude got laid.
I remember you talked about it. Got laid, and then I don't think she wants anything to do with it.
Right, it's her prerogative. And he goes, it was a great date, and I go, well, apparently not. It wasn't a great date. Like, you thought it was great. She didn't.
Then why would she do that then? It's like, she wanted some dick. Like,
she wanted some dick.
You never did the same shit?
And then when I asked him, he was like, yeah, but I want more. And I go, yeah, but you're still talking about a selfish perspective. What I'm saying is that we can't be mad at people because they have a preference. We can only be the best version of ourselves, present that, and then the chips fall where they may. And even when it does work out, sometimes things change. All you have to do is communicate about that. And if you communicate about that, you can weather the storm. It doesn't necessarily, don't get me wrong, it can be personable. It could be, I don't like you. But most of the time, it's not that. It's people are in the discovery of themselves, and they're changing, and they're recognizing things that they didn't recognize about themselves before. Make sense?
It does. It just sounds like the whole thing is be honest.
Yeah.
And if you're honest with that person and they decide they don't want to be a part of that, then you got to be able to take the L as well, right?
Is it an L to be with somebody to not be with somebody who doesn't think you're worthy? To me, that's not an L. That's a win.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective. But I think it goes back to what you just said and internalizing it. You're gonna internalize it as an L because, man, I'm gonna lose this person.
Yeah.
This person that I thought I loved or that I thought loved me, but.
And then there's also that thing that when we lose something, when we all of a sudden, even though we haven't decided whether we like this person, because we're losing it, all of a sudden they have value. You know, and we haven't even assessed this person, and really, I mean, you don't know. I mean, what's the chances of this person being your last true love that you ever? Come on, it's crap, dog. It's crap. It's just I'm talking from an old dude, bro. It is what you make it. People get together. Relationships is work. Being a great person is work, but it's work that is it's work that's valuable. I mean, it's interesting. It's like in my process is I'm just trying to put my feet on the floor every day and practice ACE, right? And approach people with generosity and kindness and credibility and empathy. And but I also, you could catch a fade effing with me too if you reckless. You know what I mean? That can happen too. But the point is what you find is that people gravitate with you. We're gonna have on. But real quick, man, thank you for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Seems like more self-reflection than anything.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you calling, bro. I appreciate you calling.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Here's an interesting thing, Mike, we were just, I went to the viewing. We're going to have Keith Robinson on, one of my best friends. His special just dropped on Netflix. He's going to be on Godfrey's later.
Different Strokes is on Netflix today.
Yeah, today. It just dropped today. An amazing special, bro. It was just so honest, and and forthright because Keith had 2 strokes, and it just we I don't want to talk about it now and spoil it, but I went to this I went to the early viewing, and it was like Amy Schumer was there, Chris Rock was there, Jim Norton, Rich Voss, just a lot of Michael Che. Yeah, we got to bring him on, and let me just finish.
You're on the air.
And there's a level of respect that people who would perceive are much more famous than I am, but just give me the respect because of the fact that I treat myself with a level of respect. Who am I speaking with? Where are you calling from, bro?
Hey, Dante, this is Dave in Phoenix. Actually, we had a consultation I think it was like last year, a couple of years ago.
Cool.
Remember me?
How did I help you out? Did I help you out?
Yeah, you did, man. You did. Actually, I did you did. So I got over a bad breakup.
Okay.
Started seeing this, well, that was back then, but
right.
I started seeing this girl, and like things were going good, and it's weird because like now she's like really starting to like me, and I'm kind of reverting back to like, well, what does this bitch like about me, like
okay.
like what, like and then
yeah.
It's kind of like because like I see myself. I don't know if it's like I see myself as shit. So like, what is she like? What is she like about me?
Okay, all right.
And so I'm kind of like starting to,
Okay, as soon as you say that, you go, I see myself as shit. I got it. I need to slam on the brakes. Why do you think that you're shit?
Yeah, I really don't like. I don't know.
You grew up with your mom and dad?
No, just my mom.
Okay, now what kind of lady was your mom?
She had me really young. Like she,
okay.
She was an immigrant.
What kind of immigrant? From where? From where?
From Mexico.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Was she positive and uplifting? Did she tell you that you were a special little boy, or did she was she just surviving because she was so young?
Yeah, just surviving.
Okay. All right. So
we didn't really have like a great relationship.
Okay. Well, this is why I'm asking these questions, because when you say I don't think I'm shit, that comes from somewhere. Somebody told you wasn't shit, right? Because why would you think that? Why would you think that? And what happens in a time where we're developing who we are as people, right? The adults, or lack thereof in your case, are the people that reinforce what our value is as human beings. You understand that?
Right.
And so if your mom is, if any of who's listening, if you're listening and you have some mom who said derogatory things and told you wasn't shit, or you ain't this, or you wasn't that, or you just like your father, or all the endless things that somebody could say that's harsh, I don't think that parents understand how that affects us, and how that, not only that affects us in a way that they could never understand, because most of them have dealt with parents themselves who were shitty parents, who didn't understand parenting and didn't understand how those things affect us, right? So here's a question. I'm gonna fix your self-esteem in 3 easy lessons. What kind of was your mother exceptionally? Was she a genius? Was she exceptionally smart? That's a no, right?
No. It's like she's got like a double master's. Like she is really smart.
Okay, she's okay. When she had you, was she super smart then?
Yes, but she was more like street smart, right? Like more.
Okay, all right. She like survival.
Yeah, she would do a lot of like I would see a lot of like weird things, very manipulative. Yeah.
Okay, so manipulative, like street manipulative, yes.
Yeah.
So maybe not the most righteous person.
Right.
Okay, all right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 2 steps back from your own life, right? And I want you to view that little Mexican kid then, right? And I want you to look at this from an adult's perspective, right? If you was that little kid, right, and you could control how that little kid was raised, do you think that what are some of the things that you would change about that?
Yeah, I mean, just offer encouragement, right? Like,
Right. Okay.
yeah, like anything that they took interest in, just really encourage that.
Right.
You know, discipline, I think, and structure.
Okay.
I think it was really important. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want you to see when we step back and we look at ourselves, but we step back as an observer, right? Realize a lot of times, more over than not, we're gonna realize that our moms was pretty shitty, that our fathers were pretty shitty, because there's so much that we know now that we didn't know them. And I'm not saying that to hold a grudge or anything, but what I'm going to say is that you're asked to strive and to flourish in a situation where you never were given the tools to do so. You understand?
Yeah.
And then as we grow older, we figure out a way to survive, which is the nature of humanity, is that we learn how to survive, and then we become this person, and then right on the surface level, on right on the internet, you just tell me, you say confidently, I ain't shit. And I think to myself, how tragic that is to hear a man say that about himself, with so nonchalantly, as if when you really didn't have an opportunity to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I do well, right? Like I make good money. Like I I have.
What do you do for a living?
I do sales.
Okay, so let me ask, are you a good salesman?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, what makes you not shit? Like, what makes you go, I ain't shit?
So that's just the thing, right? Like, I think it's always like that relationship thing, right? Like, where it's like,
okay, I'm gonna stop you and I'm gonna ask you to answer the question. What about you makes you think you ain't shit?
I guess I can't answer it because I do well, right? Like, I do very well.
Makes sense to me. Do you think that people who ain't shit do well? It's possible, but but there has to be some value there, in order for you to do well. Correct?
Yeah, I think it's just like internalized, I guess.
Right. So it's internalized, but it's internalized based on what? And if you can't, if you told me you was the dopest guy in the world, you the best motherfucker ever, right? I would ask you, why do you think that? And if you didn't have answers for that, I would go, well, I don't believe it. To the same token, when you tell me you ain't shit, I gotta go, okay, what makes you believe that? And if you don't have any evidence to show that, right? Logic would be that there's an evidential proof to why would you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't articulate that, this is probably just something that you're saying or something that you've been told that you're dealing with internally from somebody who was 18 years old, who was surviving, who was street, who probably wasn't ready to have children and didn't understand that the impact of who she was and what she said changed who you were.
Mm-hmm.
So once you realize that what your mom thought of you doesn't really matter. And even if it did matter, even if she was dead on, here's the greatest thing about being a sucker. Tomorrow you don't have to be.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
From today, whatever you think those shortcomings are, you can start to work on those today and start to feel better about yourself. But here's the crazy thing. You haven't even identified why you think you ain't shit. It's just something that you say.
Yeah. No, I understand, and don't think like I'm older, man. Like I don't blame my mom for anything.
Nor
right?
should
like,
you, because she probably went through things herself as a child that made her be who. I mean, this is sick. You know, this is a chain reaction of the fact that throughout time and we're evolving and we're learning and we're understanding. But when you say, here's something I want you to understand. When you say, man, this girl really starts liking me, and I'm like, why she like me? Because I ain't shit. First of all, that ain't true. Nobody gets anything for free. Understand, everything you get, you earn it. Now, you can earn it in the context of there's always a different exchange rate, what I like to put, right? So depending on what this woman's self-esteem is and what her level of the fact of nobody gives you love unless you're lovable. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
And that love is defined by the person who is giving the love.
Yeah.
So there's something that she sees in you. There's something that she sees in you that you may not see, right? And all I need you to do is accept it and stop making a value judgment about it, because you don't get nothing for free. If you are on, I'm a comic. If I'm on stage and I'm getting laughs because I'm funny. If I'm not funny, nobody laughs, right?
Right, exactly.
If I go to work and I don't work and what my work is not of value, right? And I'm BSing my way through, right? Eventually I get fired. If I give my job value, right? Then I get a promotion. I mean, there is a to a certain degree there is a meritocracy. Don't get me wrong. There are definitely women and men both who are accustomed to abuse, and because they perceive love as abuse because it's what they're accustomed to, but nothing you get is free. So if somebody likes you, it's because you're likable.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, and at least in the context of this woman, you're likable. You gotta learn to shut up and take it.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, man. Like I want to. It's just like
you don't. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as I want to. Do you think that she likes you because you're not likable? You think that's even possible?
No, but it's just always that thought in the back of my head, like, what's going on?
I don't care. I don't care what's in your head. We have evidential proof that you're likable because this woman likes you. Show me evidence contrary to that. This woman goes, I like you. You're a great guy. I want to be around you. I want to be around, right? She's given the evidence of this proof. If I was trying to make a case that you're likable, I would go, Your Honor, here we have the case, and this woman so-and-so likes him, right? And you were trying to tell me, well, I don't know, I'm not likable. Okay, present your evidence. What would you say? Nothing. Do you understand? Even if you could tell me about you talked about you went through a breakup and the girl who stopped liking you, right? That just means that she didn't like you. But that doesn't mean you're not likable, because the simple fact that this woman cares about you means that you are worthy of care and concern and love. Make sense?
Right, yeah. That makes sense.
You are living a lie, and the lie is that you ain't shit. Do you understand how absurd that is? That your line of thinking is just not logical?
No, yeah. I get that. I get that. And it's interesting because, like I in my job, right, like I have to think logically. I have to think very, very linear. But it's just, I think it's just that, like it's that, right? Just the self.
So let me ask you this: why is this? If in your job you have to think logically, why do you think that you're not thinking logically now? I'm gonna give you the answer. Never let emotion have a seat at the table. Why? Because if you let emotion have a seat at the table, you cannot make good decisions. So you have an emotional adverse response to people patting you on your back and loving you, right? And because you have an emotional trauma that goes directly to how you were raised, you can't accept this. But I'm going to tell you something. You're not that little kid that didn't get those hugs and those kisses from your moms at the time. You're a grown-ass man. I can't allow you to logically come up with an answer and then have you reject it anyway. That's what you call cognitive dissonance. That's like you literally are not looking at the data. The data is that somebody likes you, somebody loves you, somebody thinks you're worthy. Why don't you believe that? Oh, because my mom said that. Oh, you mean your mom that had you at 18 years old and was out in the streets and was slick and just not really the best judgment of character and was surviving and all of this? Oh, that's the person you're listening to? I go, is that a good, I could ask you, do you think that's a good person to listen to?
I mean, now, yeah, but back then, no.
No. What we're talking about now, the damage is already done.
Right.
So do you understand that this need for you to demean yourself is this is you taking the solution, the observation that you made as a child and taking this, how old are you now?
I'm in my 30s.
Okay, so you're taking this kid, this you know, from when you were a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever, you're taking that kid's advice and you're bringing it into your 30s. When you have observational evidence that you're likable and you're valid and that people think your job, say that you are a viable entity, that you are worth something, and you're trying to make yourself, you're going by a 3-year-old's advice, personally your 3-year-old's advice, from a mother who really didn't do what she was supposed to do in the first place. You understand the absurdness in that?
When you put it that way, yeah.
I mean, am I putting it that way, or is that the way it is?
Well, when you lay it out like that, I mean, it's like,
again, am I laying it out, or is that the truth?
Well, I mean, it's the truth, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, no, you're right though, because I've never had a problem like actually like getting women. It's just any time it gets to a place where it gets serious, that's when I like try to sabotage it, because it's like because I'm thinking like, oh,
because you don't think you're worthy.
Yeah.
Because you don't think you're worthy, and these women who do like you and they starts getting serious, they do think you're worthy. So I think you need to assess the evidence differently, because you're not coming up with it, because clearly you're saying to me that this has happened several times, and every time it starts getting serious, you go, well, I ain't shit. Why she like me? How many times you gonna be wrong before you realize that your assessment of this is just absurd?
Yeah. Man,
I know I fucked you up, right? I know I fucked you up, right? You be honest about it. You have no answer to me because your insecurity is ridiculous. It's absurd.
Right.
It's absurd. And so what I need you to do today, at 31 years old, to reject the things that you've thought in the past, because it's just not substantial. It's not evidential. It just doesn't make sense. There's nothing. You have no evidence to say that you ain't shit. Mm-hmm. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
You have no evidence to stand on. Case dismissed. You ain't shit.
You're right. No, you're right.
You are convicted of being likable. I sentence you to accepting it and having some happiness in your life, and stop kicking yourself in the balls. How about that?
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, it's good to hear that. Thanks, man.
You can stop stuttering, man. I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for calling in, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
All right, peace. That was uncomfortable, right, Mark? Uncomfortable but good. Let me get that number up, Mike. Man,
I never saw someone have to fight so hard to tell someone he ain't shit. Like,
yeah, but Mike, it's so ingrained. It becomes so ingrained that, and it becomes such a part of the narrative that it's hard to shake it. 347-464-2827. We get people, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm not dogging nobody's parents. I'm talking about everybody's parents. I mean, we put on this, I kind of feel like you should, I used to say this on stage, and I feel like people should have to apply for a license before they get a kid. The fact that you could just knock somebody up and just, and you just whack, like, you just corny and whack and stupid. You don't understand logic. You can't problem solve, and then you just have kids, and then you're perpetuating this stupidity. I have a problem being around people, because stupid people infuriate me. And the stupid people, it's not just what I mean by, real quick, 347-464-2827, 347-464-2827. Don't forget also, if y'all want a one-on-one consultation, DanteNero.com. Click on consult. Also, don't forget the Patreon, www.patreon.com/manschool202. Please sign up, support us so I can keep doing this, so I can keep selling this wisdom and try my best to change people's lives. But what's crazy about this is that in reference to the last caller, we get ingrained. We are told things by people who are illegitimate to have opinions. They should not have opinions, and they have opinions, and we're children, and we come up under these people that we call our parents, and they tell us whatever they tell us, and then we believe it because they are the representation of masculinity and femininity and adulthood, and we assume that they're right, and 90% of the time they're wrong. Because most of the time they haven't worked their own nonsense out. It's just tangled up wires and nonsense underneath all of that, and we go, I'm gonna just have a kid and just spread this out. Man, it's you gotta go to therapy. You gotta talk to me. You gotta decipher. If you can't decipher, call me up, DanteNero.com. Click on consult. I'll sort this out. I mean, I just made this dude believe that he's not a loser in 15 minutes. Consult and sign up and stop playing. I mean, I guarantee you that every person that's listening to me now has some version of that in their head where they've been told something and they're insecure, they feel inadequacy of what. I mean, love Godfrey to death, but Godfrey is probably the most talented and amazing comics that I've ever been around in my life, and I've been around them all. But Godfrey's father was an educator, and Godfrey is an entertainer, and he didn't even have the ability, and I never met Godfrey's father, but I know for a fact that he did not have the ability to even understand how amazing Godfrey is as a comic. And I'm saying I'm talking about this from somebody who's been doing it for 24 years. We got a call. Let's go.
Call, you're on the air.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Ace calling from Philly.
What's going on, Ace? You calling from Philly? What's going on? How can I help you, brother?
Hey, I just want to holler at Dante Nero. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no kids, but I raised a bunch of nieces and nephews. You know what I'm saying? I just want his advice about my own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Talk to me.
Yeah, basically, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got no kids. Like I said, I got decent nephews, but I raised them all.
Right.
I raised them all.
Okay.
And they all doing good.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
What's the question?
And when I say they doing good, basically, shit, my one nephew making more money than me.
Okay.
And my one niece making more money than me.
Okay.
And the other, my other nephew and my other niece, they doing good.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay.
They got kids. You know what I'm saying? And like one of my niece's kids, they call me uncle. They call me uncle. You know what I'm saying? They call me basically they call me Uncle Pop.
Okay. All right, but what's the question?
Hey. My question is, am I selfish because I don't want no kid? I didn't want no kids. You know what I mean?
Are you selfish? I mean, this is the first, we've been talking for 30 seconds. I can't make a judgment about whether you're selfish or not, but I would say this, that it's to not want kids is your choice. True. There's nothing worse than having somebody who doesn't want kids, who has kids and then neglects them. You know,
indeed.
What kind of credibility is that? My mother-in-law has 4 kids and don't like kids. Now she's a great grandmother. She loves my son like no other. But she was emotionally unavailable to her 2 daughters, her son, and my wife. And one of the reasons why my son is in England right now is her selfishness and the fact that she was unavailable to my wife.
Okay.
And
I get that.
And I'll tell you this, because she did exactly what my wife did. She had kids and then just snatched the kids from the fathers and took them then on her own. The difference was my wife is an amazing mother, right?
Right.
Like her dedication to my son is monumental. Like when I look at the type of mother she is to my son, I wish I had her as my mom. I mean, my son, today he was baking cupcakes. Had a chef's hat.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what's up.
Yesterday he was finger painting. The day before they was at a farm. The day after that he was at the aquarium. The day after that he was at the zoo. The day after that he was gardening. And before that he was, you know what I'm saying? Like she's so innately, like his whole existence is her focus. I also think that to a certain extent that he you know, she lacks in the ability to discipline him sometimes because of the fact that she loves him so much. But I would rather her be supportive so that the fact that he can feel the confidence. So I don't know if you was listening to the last call I said, but here's a situation where a guy's a good dude, and then because his mom was 18 years old and in them streets told him that he wasn't shit, and now he's 31 years old and thinks he ain't shit because somebody who's not even capable of making a value judgment is telling you that. You understand what I'm saying? So if you decide that you don't want to take this burden on, I don't think that people really understand the responsibility of having children. It's just kind of culturally what we do.
Right.
But most parents ain't shit. They suck.
Right.
Because what they're doing is not intentful. Everything with my son. I mean, even me being here. I mean, I just got back from the UK. Doug, my son is he's not the most verbal. He just don't give a damn about no one. He's so busy doing his own thing that he just don't like. In a way, he's kind of. I mean, he got it honest. I don't give a fuck about what nobody think too. But I mean, sometimes he don't give a fuck about what I'm doing. He like what I'm saying. And so what I do is, even though I'm here, like I have flashcards. We do flashcards for me to help him to be more verbal on FaceTime. Like we do that a couple of times a week, and I'd like to do it more because what I'm being intentful about preparing him and giving him the tools that he can use in the future. And if he doesn't have those things and I don't give it to him, then it's my fault. If you don't want that burden, dog, I mean, here's a question. You asked, are you selfish? If somebody gave you a puppy and you wasn't gonna walk him or train him or take care of him, should you have a puppy?
Hell no. That's the reason why I don't have a dog now, because I work every day.
Right. So
you know what I'm
so
saying?
you realize how unfair it is to understand that you bring this animal in your life, you know to what extent these things are important, and then you know you can't do it and you take on this responsibility. How disrespectful is that? So if we wouldn't do that to a dog, why would we do it to a child?
Exactly. And one main reason why I said I'm asking it, am I selfish, is because, like, personally, me, I don't give a fuck about nobody, but I give a fuck about my nephews and nieces. You dig what I'm saying?
Well, they understand that they are somebody. The point is that if you don't want to take that burden on, I commend the fact that you're willing to recognize. But this is okay. Now here's where we go back to the same old principles. Aces. Being authentic, being truthful. You're being truthful. I am not willing to nor do I want to take on the burden of children and all of those things. I would rather be an uncle, right?
True.
You know, my man used to have a joke. He said, look, it's not that I'm not a good dad. It's just I wish I was an uncle. That I can do it when I want to do it and not do it when I want to, because I haven't signed up for that. I haven't signed up for that personally on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, that's so dope, yo, that's dope. I fuck with that. That's my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how I am.
Right. And here's the thing: the fact that you are willing to give to your nieces and nephews and to enhance their life is just dope. And you still you still get to do what you want to do, what you want, and when you don't want to be bothered, you don't have to be bothered.
Yes, and with my nieces and nephews, I literally raised them. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 90s, they was all born in the 90s.
Yeah.
And all my nieces and nephews, they got children.
Yeah.
So I would text them, "Hey, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day," and they would text me back, "Nigga, Happy Father's Day to you, motherfucker."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Happy Father's Day to you.
I got you.
Nigga.
Watch the cursing, bro. Because you're gonna get me demonetized. I ain't gonna be able to get this paper.
Yeah, my bad.
Right.
They would be like, "Yo, Happy Father's Day to you, Unc."
Yeah,
Happy
exactly.
Father's Day to you, Unc.
Because they appreciate you and they appreciate what you done. But dog, I mean,
doubt.
the fact that you're intentful about the decisions that you're making about having children and marriage is exactly what you're supposed to do. I wish more people would do that. And stop going through the motions of what they think is expected of them, and start pursuing what their happiness is, and understanding the response. And with the credibility means that you take into consideration the fact that there is a responsibility that you have to the decisions that you make.
No doubt.
And if you do that, there's nothing better than that, brother. Thanks for calling, man. All right.
Thank you.
And make sure you check out, because we're gonna have my boy Keith Robinson. He's gonna be on the Godfrey show later, and he on
Keith Robinson.
Yes,
he sounds familiar.
He's a Philly dude.
Okay, I'm Philly. All right,
he's a Philly
no
dude.
doubt,
So
no doubt.
make sure you check out. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe too. Do me that favor and spread the word to what I'm doing here, man. If you like what I'm doing, all right.
On that.
All right, peace.
Peace.
What we got? We got time for one more call. You want to shut it down, or we got one more call?
We got like 5 minutes. You want to do a quick?
I mean, if we get one quick, it's not. I just want to say, man, let me just say this: if we get a call, we get a call. If we don't get a call, 347-464-2827. It's gonna have to be a quick call, and then we out of here because we got to prep for what's coming down. I appreciate y'all, man, and I feel good about. I feel good about what we're doing. I feel good about the energy that I'm getting from the fans, and please like and subscribe. Also, subscribe to my channel too. It's Dante Nero on YouTube, Instagram, the Dante Nero. I also stream on Sundays. We stream on multiple platforms. Please check that out. Follow us. Follow me on everything. Just go on the website. Y'all want a consultation? Go to DanteNero.com. Click on consult. You can get a one-on-one to me. It's easy to follow. Also, don't forget the merch is coming. We're working on the merch page. I'm working on this book that'll give at least the first version, the first volume of this book is how we move forward and stuff. I'm working on that. Man, Mike, it's 9:55. We're gonna give it 1 minute, and then we're gonna shut it down. But let me see real quick. Let me shout out some of the people while we if nobody calls. Let me see if I want to shout out some of the new Patreon people. Want to shout out the new Patreon members: Labdrim Ajdini, Indira Green. Shout out to her. Herbie Walker, Jonathan Cleofat, and Colin, Collin. Thank you so much for signing up on the Patreon. That really helps support us on the long run to keep doing this thing that we're doing. Man, I love y'all, man. Let's shut it down, Mike. GYBB, get your balls back. WWDD, what would Dante do? Sexual Revolutions being podcasted. I'm excited, man. I love y'all. Don't forget the live we're going to do on Sunday early. Keep that in mind. The live Sunday will be around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then I'll be looking for your next. Stay tuned for Godfrey in a minute. Peace. We out of here.
Score 202. Better hear what I've got to say because you won't get it again.
I'm not an alpha male. I'm not a beta male either.